Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to see what you got. You definitely have the coolest background set so far from anybody. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I'm coming to you live from part of the Celebrating the Sounds of Kentucky exhibit at the Frazier Museum where I work. So actually in the background right now is there's Jim James is going to be with y'all later today, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's his poncho and guitar. You might assume he has another one, but
I hope he has more than one.
yeah, right. And then Steve Ferguson is here, and then White Reaper. So yeah, well represented.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Well, let me go ahead and introduce you, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
So we're so happy today to have Mick Sullivan of the Frazier Museum and of the Past and the Curious podcast. Mick is an educator, a musician, and a history advocate. He is the manager of youth and family programs at the Frazier History Museum, where he also works closely with the exhibits team. As the creator of the history-themed podcast, The Past and the Curious, he has been featured in the New York Times, Mental Floss, and Time Magazine for Kids as a leader in kids audio. Your head must have exploded when you had those like shout outs and, you know, Time Magazine and the New York Times and stuff.
Absolutely. It's super weird, especially since it's a project that I just created in my spare time and create in my basement after my kids go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, you know, Apple started in a garage. Who knows? He's also the co-chair of Kids Listen and the author of the children's book, The Meat Shower, which, if you have not read it yet, is fabulous and funny and bizarre. It's such a good book. And he's been performing for over 20 years. So thank you so much, Mick, for joining us today. We're really excited to have you and to see what you got for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor, especially you know, considering that you've got people like Jim James and Don Landis and Girls Rock Louisville, who I think like the world of. That's such an awesome program. Mm-hmm. So it's awesome to be like included in that. Music is something I've been doing for all of my life. I mean, since I was 12, is when I got started. And it's meant a lot to me. But you know, as like life goes on and work happens, and I have 2 kids, like I have to find, you know, and that's part of what I kind of want to. I guess I want to talk about today about how it's important to, you know, hold on to the things that bring you joy, which this definitely is. It's also the sort of thing that. You know, anytime you're working on something and creating and pursuing something artistically, you oftentimes get frustrated and want to quit too, which I've done multiple times. But I don't know, before I get too far into anything, I thought I would sing song. I have like 5 songs that I'm going to sing, and then I'd like to show people around the exhibit and kind of tell a couple stories, because that's...
Definitely. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. I'm going to make sure that I can see. I guess I should pin my screen, eh?
I think you're good. I have you on speaker view.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll just get started. This seemed like an appropriate song. I do a lot of swing and jazz stuff. So this is an old standard called On the Sunny Side of the Street, and it even has some like history references in it too, so see if you can catch those. Grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worries on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. Can't you hear the pitter-pat? And that happy tune has your step. Life can be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. Well, I used to walk in the shade with those blues on parade, but I'm not afraid. This rover crossed over. If I ever have a cent, I'd be rich as Rockefeller. Gold dust at my feet on the sunny side of the street. those blues on parade. But I'm not afraid. This rover crossed over. If I ever have a cent, I'd be rich as Rockefeller. Gold dust at my feet on the sunny side of the street. Yeah, so again, thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to take you through a couple things in the exhibit. A lot of what we're going to talk about has to do with Kentucky music. That song doesn't have anything to do with Kentucky music, other than there's some people that are from Kentucky who played it for sure, like famous ones, more famous than me. But I wanted to start off just kind of by talking about how positive arts have been in my life, and as someone who has taught like adults and children through the years. I'm a museum educator now, but before that, for 10 or 15 years, I was also a private instructor in music. And it was awesome, like the things that you would see people, like the developments that would happen from people playing music. And like the thing about it that always stuck out to me is that it wasn't a matter of like this ultimate goal of being a rock star or doing anything like that. It was most of the people that I worked with just wanted to do it because it made them feel good. Because the pursuit of something is nice, just like having something to focus deeply on. And that's something that I always saw within myself too. But even more so, music was very, very important for me. I started playing when I was 12 or 13. And I remember being like my parents were actually like, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Well, I think I want to play guitar." And so like they didn't hesitate. They immediately like made some arrangements for me to get a guitar and get in lessons. And it was great. Like I took to it very well because I didn't identify with anything else. Like I wasn't a visual artist at the time. I dabble in it now, but I, didn't play sports or anything like that too. I played baseball, but it aged out. And then the year after that, like, so I was 13, my dad died, like completely out of the blue. It was a very, very sudden thing. And I had an intense awareness of how like that could be a breaking point. Like that could be a moment where like everything goes off the rails for me. Like I don't know how I had that awareness at that age, but it did. I had a lot of good people around me telling me those, or informing me, not saying that out loud. But I jumped into music. I remember having a conversation with my guitar teacher, who's an amazing musician. He's actually the guitar chair at U of L in Bellarmine. His name's Craig Wagner. He's incredible. He was my first teacher, so I have that to be grateful for. But I remember telling him like that week, like I don't want to stop. Like I want to focus on this, and it was great. Like it was a way for me to focus. It was a way for me to channel feelings that I had. It was also, it became a point of pride too, because I was focused more than most people that I knew who were taking lessons or whatever. And that really mattered. Like it gave me an identity, and maybe I think most people, that's not what music is for them. And case in point, I actually I have two young kids. I have a 2-year-old and a almost 4-year-old. And we did music together, like before social distancing was necessary. But we did music together, which is a really cool family program. And one of the things that I love about that, the way that it encourages people, is like, you should sing. Like, if you sing badly, it doesn't matter. You should sing. Like, there's something about singing. I'm not a dancer, but like there are moments like when I'm alone and like don't feel vulnerable about it or whatever, that I'll, have music on in the basement. I'll take a break from like writing an episode and I'll dance like that. Those are the things that make us human. Right? Those are the things we love. So to engage those, even poorly, or not poorly, just engage them. It doesn't matter. And that's one of the things that I would always tell like adult students when I was teaching lessons, like, it doesn't matter if it's not like the record. It matters that you're working on it and you're having fun and you're learning something and you're connected with something bigger than you. So that's a really cool thing. about music. I don't think there's any other thing quite like that. But that's the art form that I've focused on for sure. All right, I'm gonna sing another song because I guess that's what I'm here for. And I'm gonna play mandolin. I'm gonna play mandolin and guitar today. So this is the second of like, I don't know, maybe 5 songs that I'll sing. So hope you like me talking a lot too. This is another jazz standard, one that I really love. And it's one that, like, I have a lot of, it's hard with 2 little kids and, you know, work and all sorts of stuff to find time to practice and make music. But I try to steal it away when I can. Like if we're sitting outside on the front porch or something, if they're playing, I'll sit on the porch and play. And this is one of the songs that I always do. It always really makes me feel good. And it makes me think of my dad too, because I actually learned it from a record that he always listened to, which was a Willie Nelson record, where he did jazz standards. So I bet a lot of you will know this song. There is somebody I'm longing to see. I hope that she turns out to be someone to watch over me. I'm a little lamb who's lost in the woods. I know I could always be good to one who watch over me. Although she may not be the girl some men think of as pretty, to my heart she carries the key. Won't you tell her please to put on some speed, follow my lead. Oh, how I need someone to watch over me. Although she may not be the girl some men think of as pretty, to my heart she carries the key. Won't you tell her please to put on some speed, follow my lead. Oh, how I need someone to watch over me. Yeah, so that's one of my all-time favorite songs. Never fails to move me. And that's something awesome about music. I really think it has a power. There's all sorts of studies that people have done. I mean, it's easy to find. I've read books about it, plenty, about what it can do, the way that it triggers memories. We've all seen those videos of like Alzheimer's patients who, you know, are disconnected from their memories a lot of times, and what music does and brings back. And I mean, it's always like tear-jerking and super powerful to watch. But I mean, there's something to that. Like, there's a comfort that comes with these songs, because they can conjure up memories that nothing else can. That's one of the, that's just, yeah, that's one of my favorite things about music in general. Okay, so I'd like to take some time now and show you around this exhibit, because it's a really awesome exhibit about Kentucky music. And there's some really cool stories. There's some really neat people that that are really representative of the community. And that's something that we really tried to do. In fact, bear with me. I have this on a cart, so I'm going to roll this cart to a couple points so that you can see it and keep it stable. So let's take a ride, I guess. Hang on a second. Okay, probably not the most professional way to do that, but you know what? That's how we do it in this world. So this room is, I wanted to stop here in particular. It's hard to see these things on the walls, and I'll kind of get out of the way. But I think this is really important. This is, music has always been a way, or people have always been looking for ways to preserve music, to record it. And in a time before, you know, the physical medium, which was just the late 1800s, it was very difficult to do. So everything was really passed on by word of mouth, which really made for distinct communities. And, you know, a lot of people carry a lot of pride in their communities, whether it's, you know, just location-based or if it's ethnic-based or anything like that. And that's really powerful. That's super important. And what I love about this is some photos and music notation. It's not important necessarily to see them. I mean, I hope you come see them, but the concept is really, I think, what's most powerful. So there was a woman in Paducah, Kentucky. Her name was Mary Wheeler, and her collection is in the Paducah Library there. That's where these are on loan from. And she was one of the very first, well, she wasn't one of the very first, but she was a very forward-looking musicologist. So Paducah was a river town, and there were all sorts of people coming from all sorts of places, wherever there were rivers, wherever there were ports, port towns all over, roustabouts and people working. She kind of got her, she was at the early 1900s through the 1930s, thereabouts. But she heard all of these people singing very unique, very special songs that she didn't hear anyone else singing, and that moved her to start cataloging them. So she was a very well-trained musician, so she would sit down with these people and have them sing their songs. She would record the words. She would also very, very perfectly notate the music that they were singing. So it was a really cool way to record that, which is not unusual in itself. That there are lots of people who were doing that. But I think what is so cool about Mary Wheeler's project is that she was also one of the first, you know, citizens, regular folks, to have a camera. And so she not only recorded these things, but actually documented and you know, preserved the people. So you can actually see what these people look like, as well as have a written record of the songs, and in the hands of somebody who's you know, knows that style of music or anything like that, could reproduce it. Not perfectly. That's the magic of music. We don't really know what anything sounds like from the past until something was recorded. But it was a really, really cool project. So we're going to keep moving on, because I want to tell you about someone from Louisville, and then I'm going to tell you about somebody from here, Southern Kentucky. But first, one thing about this gallery, it's kind of dark. This guy and gal right here, they're from Louisville, and huge importance in music, but a importance that almost goes underrepresented. No one ever talks about their stories. There are more famous people. However, so this is Sylvester Weaver and Sarah Martin. They were from essentially the Smoketown neighborhood in Louisville, Kentucky. They moved around a bit, but Sylvester has the amazing distinction of being the very first person ever to be recorded playing slide guitar. Now, if you know anything about music, like blues music or anything like that, slide guitar is, I have a message there that I can't read. Slide guitar is basically ubiquitous with the with the blues, and so no one knows that. No one knows that this man who's buried here in Louisville, who grew up in Smoketown and lived part of his life on Cherokee, also was the first person to do that. And not only that, he was the very first person, along with his cohort Sarah Martin, who was from Louisville, to record as a duo. A blues duo. So it was the very first time that a guitar and a blues voice were recorded together, which is amazing. It's just something that every blues musician in the world does now. And actually, you may have heard his song that he wrote a lot of songs, but he had a pretty famous song called Guitar Rag, which goes something like this. It goes on from there, but basically there's a more famous musician named Bob Wills from Texas, who turned it into Steel Guitar Rag, and it was a smash hit for him. Anyway, I want to move on to another woman so that I can sing you a song, a funny song, because we should laugh. All right, let me go get my stool. Again, kind of dark in here, but this red dress back there belonged to Lily Mae Ledford. Lily Mae Ledford was actually she was down from not far from Red River Gorge area, and she, as a young woman, she wanted to play fiddle. Her dad bought her a fiddle. Her mom wasn't super keen on her being a musician because, it carried some stigma, I guess. And she, but despite that, became the musician in town. If there were dances to be had, they needed a musician. She'd get first call for that. She was great. She, like a lot of people, moved to the big city at a certain point. She moved to Chicago, and instead of getting like a factory job or something like that, she actually wound up as a staff musician on a radio, which was it was a cool job. It's hard to imagine getting paid to do that all the time. But so in addition, so she did that, and the producer moved on. She went with the producer, and the producer thought she was super talented, so he built a band around her called the Coon Creek Girls, which is a name that a lot of people may know. And anyway, they were pretty big. They had one really big fan, and that fan was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who happened to be the president at the time. There was a very famous event where on the eve of America entering World War II, the King and Queen of England visited America for the very first time. They had never been to the United States before. No king and queen had ever been. No monarch had ever been to the United States, probably as a result of the Revolutionary War. But it was a momentous event, and they did all sorts of things. There's banquets or dinner or whatever, but they had one night of music. And Marian Anderson, who was the very famous African-American opera singer who sang on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in a very dramatic and very famous event. She was part of it, but also the Coon Creek Girls were. So it's funny to listen to her. And this is one of the things about like musicians and like being in love with music and following and understanding musicians that I think is important is, she carried around with her a sense of humor. And I think if you like music and you pay attention to the musicians who create it, sometimes you can like see the better things about yourself, or the things in yourself that you want to amplify in the musicians. Nobody's perfect, obviously, but one of the things that always sticks out to me about Lily Mae Ledford is that she had a sense of humor about everything that she did. Like, and performing in front of the King and Queen of England was no different. There are two very funny stories about that. One of them being that her sister had a $20 bill stuck in her stocking, and she was used to wearing wool stockings, but she was wearing new like sheer stockings, and the bill kept slipping further and further and further until it was like at her knee and visible. And she said that the King of England caught a glimpse of it and was aghast. Anyway, so here's a song that they sang that night for the King and Queen of England, which was by special request from Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and it's what we call a comedy song. It's actually a very common thing to do too. They took the melody of another song and put it and changed the words to something else. So I'll tell you what the other song is if you don't know, but see if you can figure it out. So it's called "How Many Biscuits Can You Eat?" And I learned this from my really good friend Julia Purcell, who is a social worker and really awesome person, great musician. Anyway, so thanks to her for that. How many biscuits can you eat this morning? How many biscuits can you eat this evening? How many biscuits can you eat? 49 and a ham of meat this morning, this evening, right now. Oh, love my wife and I love my baby this morning. I love my wife and I love my baby this evening. Love my wife and I love my baby. Love my biscuits soaked in gravy this morning, this evening, right now. Oh, make my coffee good and strong this morning. Make my coffee good and strong this evening. Make my coffee good and strong and keep on bringing those biscuits on this morning, this evening, right now. Oh, how many biscuits can you eat this morning? How many biscuits can you eat this evening? How many biscuits can you eat? 49 and a ham of meat this morning, this evening, right now. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah. All right, so there's that one. Also notice this says recording paused. Okay. That all good? I just noticed that. Wonder if I did that. Sorry if that's the case.
I think we're good.
Okay, cool. All right. All right, so I'm gonna go back to where I was because the lighting is better in there and finish up. All right. Okay, so let's sing a couple more songs. Oh, that song, by the way, was also known as, you probably recognize the melody from "You Get a Line and I'll Get Pole Honey," Crawdad song. So a very common thing to change words. The cart knocked me out of tune. Okay, I'm going to do a song now that doesn't have anything to do with Kentucky, but it's one that I did for the podcast that I do, The Past and the Curious. I usually try to match a song to something within the stories that I tell. Yeah, every episode has two stories that are true from history. So I did an episode about P.T. Barnum, who's an interesting figure, not a nice person. But interesting. So there's a song that I've always loved called "It's Only a Paper Moon," which a lot of the standards that I've sung were originally from musicals, and this one was no different. I think Harold Arlen wrote the words, or wrote the music. This one's tough, so bear with me. only a paper moon over a cardboard sea. But it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. Yes, it's only a canvas sky stretched over a muslin tree. But it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. Without your love, it's a honky-tonk parade. Without your love, it's a melody played in a penny arcade. It's a Barnum and Bailey world, just as phony as it can be. But it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. Without your love, it's a honky-tonk parade. Without your love, it's a melody played in a penny arcade. It's a Barnum and Bailey world, just as phony as it can be. But it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. Yeah, all right. Paper Moon. All right, so I just have one more song that I'd like to do, and actually it didn't even pop into my mind until last night. And then it made sense because, like I said, I have two little boys, and they like to sing a lot. There's a lot of singing around the house, which is awesome. I love it. Both my wife and I encourage it. But, it's usually like people get stuck on a song and that's the song that we sing. But out of the blue, my son started singing a song last night. He started singing You Are My Sunshine. I was like, oh yeah, that's a great song. I should do that tomorrow. And for a couple reasons. One, when I was young, learning to play guitar, one of my favorite musicians was this fingerstyle player. His name was Mississippi John Hurt. Just like every time you listen to him, you're like, that guy has to be the sweetest person in the world. Like so much of like his personality, so much of his being like comes across when he plays, which is remarkable. Like it's unusual to hear that. A lot of times it's about, whatever, if the musician is like in service of the song, or song is in service of the musician or whatever, but it's kind of the other way around with him, almost always. And he would always do this song, which most of the recordings are live recordings of him, because it was before there were a lot of records being made of those sorts of musicians. And he would, every recording that I've ever heard, he would start it, and then he would be like, you all have to sing this, you all have to help me with it. He's like, you're going to do my job tonight, which was awesome because one, it's a song that everybody knows, but two, it kind of speaks to the power of music to bring people together. An audience full of people singing a song that everybody knows is powerful in and of itself. But the song, You Are My Sunshine, also lends itself to, it's a song that people can sing on their own. Like you just sing it. Like you walk around the house, you're cleaning, whatever, you sing it. You're mowing the lawn, whatever. And I guess that's like what I want to leave you with, and the challenge that I'll leave you with too is like just sing a song. Like it's centering. It makes you. It connects you to something bigger than yourself. Like music has that power, and I've been lucky to ride that for a long time, off and on. It's like surfing, but it does have that ability, and it's cool that he was keyed into it, and he knew that, and he would be performing and singing all night long himself. And then when it would come to that song, it's like, it's your turn to sing. So this would be a great song if you know it to you don't have to sing it along now or whatever if you want to, but choose it or take another song that you know, and even if no one's around, even if someone is around, sing a song. It'll make you feel better. Connects you to something bigger than yourself. Also, I think it's funny about this song, like a lot of these folk songs that kind of made it at that time, it's pretty sad. You think it's not a happy song, but it's actually a really sad song. We teach them to kids. It's like Good Night Irene. It's like, oh my gosh, that's like the most depressing song in the world. But it doesn't matter. Like kids, you can like reframe it, and kids are like, yeah, it's a great song. Happy, you are my sunshine. So I'll sing 2 verses of it because they get progressively darker. I'm gonna try to do it like Mississippi John Hurt too. He did this like fingerstyle thing. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. So don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. So I hang my head and cry. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. So don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Well, thank you all for listening. Again, my name is Mick Sullivan. Here at the Frazier History Museum. Love it if you come visit sometime or tune in to The Past and the Curious, which is available wherever you can get your podcast. I hope you enjoyed, had a good time singing and talking.
Thank you, Mick. And you're right. It was really hard not to hum along to that because who doesn't know that song?
Right. That's the power of a good melody, right?
Exactly. And it is, I'm glad you made the choice, though, to not go too far because you're right. These songs do get dark.
Yeah, they do. A lot of those folk songs do.
Yes. So yeah, you mentioned the Frazier. Is the exhibit open now, or does it open later in the month?
It is open now, and it's been open actually for about a year. And so it actually goes all the way through. If you're from Louisville, it goes all the way through. We actually have a lot of the old stuff from Ear Ecstasy, so it's a nice way to reminisce from that too. So it starts in the 1700s and ends there. And it's a little romp through Kentucky music.
Nice. Yeah, I imagine there's definitely a certain group of people, like a certain age group of people who really will like to enjoy like reminiscing with that Ear Ecstasy stuff that you have.
Yeah, totally. And I'll add this too, because while like if anyone does come, we're actually opening a new exhibit called Cool Kentucky, which is just kind of like an overview of awesome stuff and people from the state. And since you have Dawn Landis coming on later on today, like she's like making a splash right now with that musical that she wrote about Tori Murden. And we actually have the boat, the Pearl, the American
That's
Pearl.
Awesome.
It's actually like it's still like roped off. It's not like, not cute. it's on display. You walk in and it's like the first thing.
Yeah.
You can see it, but the exhibit's not completely done yet, so it doesn't have like the extra like, information about it yet. That'll be later on in the month. However, like it's awesome to see that in person, and it's a nice connection to Dawn later on. So.
Well, and that is such a very Louisville thing to happen too. We're like, we didn't necessarily plan any of that, but
Yeah, exactly.
of course, that's how Louisville works.
Exactly.
And I imagine that boat looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, I can't imagine spending much time on it at all, let alone, as much as she did in wavy ocean water.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
yes.
quarter.
I would say I watched Dawn's TED Talk, and it has images from Tori's trip, and I felt anxious watching the images. I felt claustrophobic. So
yeah.
It's really cool, though. I definitely want to come check that out, and you could just like listen along to her album while you're walking through.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, but for people who want to find you, like you said, you're I know you can be you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram at The Past and the Curious. You also have a Patreon page, which has lots of cool extra bonuses. You just put out like a zine, like people can get a zine, right?
Yeah, I worked with a local artist named Brianna Jacoby. She's a really, really great visual artist. And she drew 16 drawings inspired by 16 stories that we told on the podcast. So, I mean, it's basically like, a really like cool, like comic-y sort of portrait of someone from history. Again, they're all true. They're all real people. Yeah, so that was really exciting to wrap up too. That was one of the ways to get through pandemic for me.
Yeah, and I was just flipping through actually. The drawings are really cool. I really like the Marquis de Lafayette. My kids are going to really like that one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And I loved all your stories and your songs. I think you did an awesome job picking all of those out. So we will have this on YouTube, and we will be sharing it with people there. We'll also have an audio version on the Sanomind app where obviously you won't be able to see the visuals, but you'll definitely be able to get the storytelling and the songs. So we appreciate all of your help and, helping out with mental health in Louisville. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.